Hey, how's it going? Happy Saturday. How's everybody doing? Man, what a week. Busy week for me. I don't know about for you guys, but super busy week for me. Hopefully it's been pretty chill for you guys. I don't know. It's super busy week. I know I said that a couple of times, but man, it has been super busy morning for me too. I've had all kinds of problems with traffic. Oh my gosh. Like I've been banging my head against the wall for about 2.5 hours trying to fix something on traffic. So yeah, not a fun morning. Most things are working. There's like a handful of things that aren't, and the handful of things that aren't are driving me crazy. So man, how's everybody doing? What are you guys working on? You heard what I was working on. A little bit of traffic. Actually, lots of traffic the last week. Been doing some stuff with plain old Docker traffic, and then traffic again with my Kubernetes cluster. So learning more than I thought I'd learn about traffic. I thought it was set it and forget it, but nope, it's not. Once you have your configuration in place, it kind of is, but not so much when you go to try to change things, as with most things. But yeah, how's your Saturday going? How's it going? I'm gonna warn you now, it might be a little bit shorter today. I gotta take care of some stuff with my dog and stuff like that. So yeah, but anyways, so real quick before we get started and get into comments, well, first I should call out, yeah, if you have any questions, fire them at me. Questions about anything, tech, videos I've put out there, questions you have about things you're working on, or just let me know what you're working on. I'd love to hear it. A lot of my ideas and a lot of the things that I work on next come from you guys. So yeah, if you're working on something, tech, let me know. Even non-tech, it doesn't matter. Let's just chat. So really quick, let's see. So AnyBlast, resub, Prime, 3 months. Dude, thank you so much. Thanks for the continued support. Yeah, thank you. Prime, 3 months. That came in as soon as I went live, so I appreciate it. It was a nice little welcome. I was like, oh, it didn't turn my lights on, and then as soon as you resubbed, it turned on my lights, which that kicks on every now and then when I'm not streaming, and I haven't written the code yet to tell it not to, or to check that I am streaming first. Sometimes middle of the day, or sometimes I wake up in the morning and come in here and the lights are on. I'm like, oh, someone must have subbed overnight. So it's pretty awesome. So thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And before we totally hop in, there was lots of follows like not too long ago. So Chris Bradley Dev, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Automatic Turtle, HKD, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. And Honkin' Waffles, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. So yeah, let me know what you guys are working on, what it can help with, or what we can chat about, what we can try to figure out. I know there's a lot going on. I will, also, I didn't say this, but, I took Tuesday, I didn't really take it off, but adjusted my streaming schedule for a little bit. It's going to be Saturdays only for now, as I get caught up and find some help with some stuff that I'm working on. Yeah, I've said it a few times, been looking for an editor, haven't been seriously looking. I was hoping I could, one would find me, but I'm still looking. So I'm actually going to do a little more reaching out to people on the different places around the internet. So anyways, who was first? Well, I think it was, AnyBlast I think was first, but didn't say anything, just the sub. So I appreciate it. First chat though was Takano. What's up, man? How you doing? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. AnyBlast, hi, how's it going? Dalcola, how's it going, man? Good to see you again. Back when you can get on, so I appreciate it. This must be an okay time for you. I know it's probably 10 o'clock there or something? 10 o'clock? So yeah, good to see you, dude. Official Mike J, hey, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you so much. Lights are flashing. Oh man, if it was an hour ago, those lights would not have been flashing because my ingress is just not agreeing with me. Anyways, thank you so much for the sub. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Relato consorto. Oh man, that's a whole lot of vowels. I'm gonna get it. Rela token soltoria. Hey Tim, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Let me know how to pronounce that. Probably wasn't the greatest pronunciation, but yeah, let me know. Jimmo, hey everyone, how's it going? Lazios bog sack. That's a lot of vowels too. Yo, perfect timing. How does one authenticate their Raspberry Pi cluster With AWS ECR, oh my gosh, no idea. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. No clue what AWS ECR is. Haven't used that part of AWS. I've used different parts of AWS, like, compute, Kubernetes, but not ECR. So explain to me what you're trying to do, and let's take the vendor out of it, unless this is a proprietary solution. Because usually most solutions by cloud providers are just branded with their own name. So what does ECR actually do? I think that's a better question, then we could try to figure that out. Yeah, but let me know. There's me. I'm going to read my own comment. But yeah, let me know what you guys are working on. D. Bowder, how's it going? How are you? Morvia, how are you? Quantum Penguin, good afternoon all. Yeah, good afternoon. It's such a beautiful day here, at least in Minneapolis. It's super nice out. I mean, we got a little hit with a little bit of snow, but it's like 50s and sunny. I mean, it's starting to feel like spring around here. I think the grass even was starting to grow. I can't tell if the grass I have in my yard is from last year. It got frozen and then now it's starting to die, or if it's starting to grow. But if I look really closely, I can see some weeds in there, which is a good sign. Trees are starting to bud too, which is abnormal for this time of year, this far north. Dalcola, been watching Juniper's Junos configurations, videos, etc. Also seemed like you still haven't those 3 different day schedules starting. A lot of words in there. Been watching Juniper's Junos configuration videos. Yep, got it. Also seems like you still have those 3 different day schedules. Oh yeah, starting soon. Yeah, my starting soon. I adjusted a little bit. You would think I would have adjusted the dates. I'll do that. I'll do that for sure. Note to self. But I did adjust my starting soon screen. I was just like, well, I've had video games playing in the background of that, my Be Right Back and stuff like that. And I was like, let's just take some B-roll from my other stuff. So I don't know, but I will. I'll adjust the dates. In times. I probably need to adjust them lots of places, but as always, the best place to figure out my schedule is most likely Discord now. It was Twitter, but Twitter's algorithm is all super weird, so I don't talk about anything about YouTube or Twitch on there. They bury that stuff right away. They know. Takano, just chilling. At home for today. Later today, I may be helping one of my aunts, I almost said aunt. I've been in Minnesota too long. One of my aunts print some pictures out for her wedding. Nice, yeah. Awesome. Takano, dude, love the emoji game. Your emoji game's pretty strong, man. Relay, I gotta get this right. Relay to Consultoria. Hi Tim, based on your video, self-hosting your home lab services with SSL, I managed to install everything. Nice, that one's pretty tough. That's like the end of the road for Traefik 1. That's pretty far down the rabbit hole, so congratulations. Great, I noticed you configured the Acme challenge to DNS 01. I'm not able to use DNS challenge, so I need to use HTTP 01 challenge, and I'm struggling to have this working. Can you help? Maybe there's some routing trick because they metal BIP. There is. So there is a trick. So if you're gonna, so the difference is right now. So there's, with Acme, there's a few different challenges. I've used 2. One is the DNS challenge, where you actually provide an API token to your DNS provider, where they can create, I think, some text files and validate that you own a domain. All without exposing port 80, which leads into the HTTP challenge, which you're trying to do. So the HTTP challenge is, hey, you poke a hole in your firewall and you route everything and you set up a DNS entry pointing back to your, or wherever your IP is or your domain name, back to there, and allow then traffic it is traffic, but that will route it. But then let's encrypt then verify that you own that domain by routing all the way back to your IP address. And then it does some little thing in a well-known folder or something like that. It creates some files and verifies that they're there. So for you to be able to do that, I kind of explained it in the explanation of what it is. With HTTP Acme Challenge, you're going to have to do a couple of things. One, you're going to have the DNS entry already set up somewhere. So if you don't have access to an API, I assume you're using Duck DNS or something. I'm not sure. You're using something where you can't use the DNS challenge. So you're going to have that DNS entry in public DNS there, pointing back to your IP. It's always going to be up to you, too, to handle how to dynamically update your IP address in DNS. So that's step 1. Step 2 is opening up port 80 on your firewall or your router and doing port forwarding. So forwarding back, opening that port 80 has to be 80. Well, you're going to have to do 80 and 443. 443 will come eventually. 80 comes right away for this HTTP challenge. Then you're going to have to port forward to your Metal IB IP. And your Metal, did I say that right? I probably didn't. Words are hard this morning. I've been too much like this all morning. So you're going to have to route back to your Metal LB IP. And that's where your port forwarding will lead. So then once it hops to your Metal LB IP, then Traefik will look at the HTTP header and say, hey, well, who do you want? Right? And so it's going to look at that HTTP header, and your HTTP header is going to say, hey, I want whatever, mysite.example.com. And then so Traefik is going to be like, hey, you go this way, and you route to mysite.example.com. But the thing is, if you're doing Acme on Traefik, it'll handle that for you, except for setting up that I think that ingress. Maybe not. I haven't done HTTP challenge. I think it will. So Traefik should handle all of that as long as, long story short, make sure you got port 80 open. Make sure you do port forwarding to your Metal LB IP, and then make sure you have that DNS entry set up in public DNS, and then make sure Traefik knows about that route so we can handle it. So, all that being said, should work. To be honest, I haven't done HTTP 1 challenges with Traefik, mainly because I have an API you can use for DNS, and I use Cloudflare for DNS. It's actually free if you want to do it too. Sign up for Cloudflare. They don't need to own your domain. They don't need to be a registrar. You just need to give them, let them handle or make them your root name servers, and that's super easy to do. Then you can use the DNS challenge if you want, which I think is a little more robust, especially when it comes to certificates for internal services and wildcards and stuff like that, right? And so, I mean, maybe the answer is at some point you just switch to a DNS challenge because there's so many more benefits to it too, and you don't have to like poke open port 80 to allow that to come in the first time to verify you own that domain. You know, you just do a DNS challenge with an API token, and then you're good. But yeah, I mean that should do it. Let me know if that's what you're talking about and that's what you need help with. JMO, I'm trying to decide on the path to take to upgrade my little home lab environment. Oh, so many ways. Yeah, depends. If your little home lab environment, so, you know, if your little home lab environment is Raspberry Pi, I think the next logical step is either old PC or Intel NUCs are always a great choice. If you have one, especially if you have one. If you don't have one, I don't know if I go out and buy one just to do it. But low powered PCs, any ones that you see on Serve the Home, always a good choice. And, you know, and then you could just step up from there. I would step up lightly though, because you'd be surprised. I mean, there's a huge jump when you go from, you know, Raspberry Pi to a desktop class processor. And some people go from Raspberry Pi straight to enterprise server, you know, dual socket, dual CPU, the whole 9 yards, which is totally fine. But, you know, there's a lot of steps in between there. So, yeah, let me know. What do you have? What are you running now? Maybe I can help. Deep Dragon, Waves, how's it going? How are you? Let me grab a drink real quick. Yeah, I have this cough button. I forgot. Yeah, I totally forget it. I always have this cough button. I don't use it. I have this beep button. That I'll never ever press that because I rarely ever curse. So you don't need to worry about pressing that button. But I have these buttons I never use, and every time I cough, I hit mute and unmute. But anyways, totally boring stuff. Morvia, I'm surprised that the stream is rescheduled to an hour earlier than I'm used to. No, I think that I solved it. Daylight savings time. So we observe daylight savings time here. Where you're at, you must not observe daylight savings time. So it's for me, it's the same time. For you, it might be an hour earlier. That might be a good thing. Depending on where you are. It probably is a good thing, actually, no matter where you are. I mean, if you're in the United States, most places here observe daylight savings time. So like there's pockets of places, but if you're elsewhere, especially East or West, then that might be a little bit better because it won't be as late in the night, or depends. If you're over in Japan, it's a little earlier in the morning. So Anyways, yeah, daylight savings time kicked in last Sunday and threw me off, but I love it. I love it. One, I like mixing it up. I like things a little bit different. I don't mind, things being a little bit different, being a little darker in the morning. But man, it stays light out till 7, 8 o'clock now. It's pretty awesome. I'll look tonight. I think it's like 7:30ish or something. Or I'm like, whoa, it's still light out. But then again, like when 5, 6 o'clock rolls around and I'm still working and it's still light out, I'm just like, oh, it must not be that late. And I look at the time and I'm like, whoa, it is. CG, bass player, with the girlfriend, away. It's been a coding day. All right. Playing around with the idea of building web app for a GTA mod. Nice. Yeah, nice. Sounds awesome. I haven't played too much GTA. I did back in the day. Haven't played it recently. Sounds awesome. I've said this a few times, but I just love the interception, of code and games and just systems. It's super fun, especially something like that. That sounds fun. Something you're probably passionate about, playing GTA. You want to create a mod or an add-on, and then you're going to build it yourself. It sounds super fun. Super fun. I love that stuff. Penguin Airlines. Yeah, man. How's it going, dude? You've always got the good. You found someone on Twitch, I guess. I don't know where you're getting these. Cryo. Okay. Oh man. So you found someone on Twitch that has all the penguin emotes, the good ones. I need to reach out to them and say, who made yours? How's it going, man? Hope you're doing good. Debouter. Traffic. Tell me about it. That's my morning. Traffic. It's awesome when it works. Like it's super solid. But once you start changing things, and it's probably my fault the way I have it configured. I have multiple traffic load balancers running in Kubernetes, and then I actually have one running in just plain old Docker. So I have 3 instances of traffic, and once I start messing around, I'm just like, oh man, what is going on again? So. Yeah, that's been my whole entire morning. Traffic. I'll leave it at that because I'm gonna have to revisit it tonight. Not looking forward to it. It's just I feel like it's time, not well spent, fixing things that were just working. Oh, what a time suck. Morvia, I see. How's it going? Deep Dragon. It took me a second to realize that you meant service and not the thing with cards. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So those who don't know, Traefik, is a network, cloud native network tool, mostly used with Docker and Kubernetes. So it's a containerized networking tool. I don't know how else to explain it, which combines like a reverse proxy or a proxy too, along with Let's Encrypt and Traefik, or Let's Encrypt for certificates. And it does a ton of other stuff too. I'm totally not doing it justice, but I use it for a reverse proxy. So all of my public web stuff comes in through Traefik, inspects the header, and then routes it according to container. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How you doing? The cool thing though is I've been playing with it a little bit with Docker, and it's super cool with Docker, as it is with Kubernetes. But I never did it with plain old Docker until this past week. It's pretty awesome because think about routing all of, let's say you have a Portainer instance with 10 web services on it. You just install Traefik, configure a couple of labels, and all of a sudden all of those routes now have within the container all have SSL routes available to them when you access them outside of the container. It's super cool stuff, and you can even set up external services too. So that's kind of what I've been doing the past week or so here and there is putting SSL on all my internal services using Traefik, and it's pretty awesome. All of my services except for a handful work. I mean, all of my I have three Proxmox nodes now. They all have SSL. When I hit them, they're in a cluster. It's super awesome. All of my services internally. I'm like, I mean, my public ones have had SSL for years, but my internal ones, I was just kind of like, do I need to? But now it's nice because I combined Traefik along with SSL certificates along with DNS. And then now I can access all my services over SSL, and I don't have to use weird ports anymore. It's super awesome. I'm just like PV1 yada yada yada, boom, SSL. Same with PV2, 3, so Proxmox virtual environment. And the same with all of my services. So they all have nice names now and nice certificates. It's kind of nice. But when DNS goes down, oh gosh, like it did this morning when I was doing some maintenance. Oh man, I was like, I don't even know the IP addresses of anything. You know, I still need to keep that on hand somewhere. So anyways, yeah, Traefik, not cars. Traefik, the network proxy. Debouter. I'm considering setting up a K3S cluster without Rancher and then set up traffic rules from scratch in YAML files. 100% go for it. Do it 100%. The less you can rely on a UI, the more you can recreate that thing in the future if something goes wrong. And so I'm a huge fan of Rancher afterwards. After you have your Kubernetes cluster running, after you have things set up, like it's nice. Like it's nice to have your web dashboard. It's nice to be able to get the logs really easily. Like if you think of if you think of any cloud provider like Google Cloud or, Azure, AWS, they all give you Kubernetes and then they give you a web dashboard over it, as part of their service. But if you do it at home, you don't get that. So that's where I think Rancher comes in. Obviously, it gives you a lot more capability in Rancher, but still than Kubernetes, but it still gives you a nice, easy way to hey, look at pods, see that one's down, scale up, scale down, look at their logs, exec in, test some stuff. Really easy. I mean, things you can do from CLI, but at the same time, it makes it really, really easy. But going back to your original comment, I highly recommend if you have the gumption and the know-how and the will to do K3S without Rancher, absolutely 100% do it. And I say that because it makes it really easy to recreate. If you have all your YAML files for all your deployments, all your routes, all of Kubernetes, and you've automated it all, then you could totally just destroy the whole entire cluster and spin it back up. And then you can go as far as you want with automating that with Ansible or any number of tools to help you automate that. But it's really nice to have your deployment files, especially in YAML, because then you just, kube control apply -f, and apply a service, and then same kube control delete -f, and then your service file, the service is gone. And the other cool thing is then once you have one of your service files, it's all copy pasta. I mean, it's like change a couple of names and maybe a couple of ports, maybe. And then you just, source control those and boom, you got all of your infrastructure kind of source control. Well, your Kubernetes infrastructure, I should say. But yeah, it's super cool, super cool. I've done it both ways. And right now mine is a mix of both, and I need to get back into it. The only thing that the only downside to doing some stuff in Rancher is that, they have abstractions over some of the things that you see in the UI that you get as part of creating it from the UI. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I get it. They need to create labels and their own specific labels for their own namespace so that they could see those things in the UI. But sometimes there's no way to create it unless you add 1,000 labels to your deployment file or whatever that resource is. And it's kind of a bummer. Kind of a bummer. I mean, it's not like the Kubernetes dashboard where it's just plain old Kubernetes, and you don't need anything else. But then again, most of that is really for consumption rather than creation. Anyways, yeah, do it if you can, because it's so awesome. Oddly Otter, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Deep Dragon, basically, I need to finish my polling site. Oh, nice. And right on time with how straw poll dies. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on. Cool, yeah. I didn't know straw poll dies. I've used it probably 5 times in my life. It's super cool idea. I didn't know it died, so that's unfortunate. I'm finding another polling site. Maybe yours, Deep. We'll see. Morvia, you look tired, Tim. Not really. Am I tired? No, not really. I mean, my eyes are kind of like, I guess so. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's, yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate being honest. Am I tired, like energy-wise? No. Are my eyes tired? Yeah, my eyes are super tired. They've been for about 3 days now, and it's just like a lot of looking at screens between home and work, and a lot of long days lately. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and it's I'm not tired like spiritually or as far as energy is concerned, but my eyes are. My eyes are like, oh yeah, starting to, yeah, my eyes are just getting a little bit tired. I'll say that. Laszlo, how does one authenticate their Raspberry Pi cluster? You already asked that. Need more information, because I don't know what AWS ECR is. Take the marketing name out of it and tell me what you're trying to do. Creepinson, hi, I'm playing Minecraft right now, LOL. Nice, dude. Build me something awesome. How's it going, Creepinson? Yeah, build me something awesome, man. Gimli Theon, how's it going? Good to see you. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Busy day. Takano, speaking of dogs, took the pup, aka Husky, to the vet yesterday. Sadly, seizures are becoming more common, so they're putting him on fluconazole. That's too complicated for me to say. Fluconazole, something. Again, as they think they took away the medicine too fast, his valley fever didn't fully clear up, and they think it's starting to come back. Oh man, relapse. That's not good. Let's see, JMO, what should I do if the final stage, I will have one bare metal server in Rancher K3S World. I don't really need HA, currently running Docker Rancher. Should I go with K3S Rancher instead? Even with K3S, more nodes is an option, if there should be an option. Yeah, so let me make sure I understand your question. It's basically you're doing single node Rancher with Docker. And should you go single node K3S and then install Rancher on top of that? And I think I kind of explained that a little bit in the last one. I mean, that's really going to be up to you. If you only need a single node, it greatly simplifies a ton of stuff, especially networking. And it greatly simplifies things with ingresses because you can expose things on node port or host port, whatever you want to do. There's only one node and there's only one host, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I mean, personally, what would I do if I was only going to do one node? Well, I mean, the Docker version's super easy. But, you know, I would try going K3S. Me personally, K3S one node. It's totally possible. It totally is. And it gives you the option to then add nodes over time. So if you do K3S one node, I think it then will have all roles on one node. So it'll have embedded etcd. If you're going to use etcd, it'll have control plane, and then it'll also be an agent. And yeah, that sounds cool to me, and it gives you the option to add more nodes over time. It's totally up to you. If it were me today and I was going to do it, I would go that route. I would totally go that route. One, because you don't have to depend on Docker. Not that Docker's bad. Docker's fantastic, but K3S uses containerd, and so you know you don't have to worry about what happens when Kubernetes fully deprecates Docker. Who knows what Rancher's going to do? I'm sure they have a plan. I'm sure it's fine. You just won't have to deal with that in the future. And K3S is, you know, it's revving really fast. And it's super lightweight too, you know, and so you're not going to get all of the, you know, the heaviness. Not that there's a ton of heaviness with Rancher, but you're not going to get all the additional things out of Kubernetes that you would otherwise. Yeah, that's what I do. I totally do it. Kleenex, Brooke. Kleenex. How did I get Kleenex? I'm like Clean and X. Like I said, my eyes are tired today. Clean, Brooke. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Xcoding. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Deep Dragon. ECR. Elastic Container Registry. Okay, so Container Registry. Gotcha. How do you authenticate it? To be honest, I don't know. I'd have to look at their documentation. Kata, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Wow. Welcome and thank you for the sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So container registry, I mean, this goes back to how do you authenticate to any container registry? And that's with either API token or credentials. And I mean, that goes the same with if you're going to use Docker, GitLab, or Elastics or AWS's. So I assume it would be a token, API token. This is me without even looking at it. I mean, I've done GitLab stuff before. I do GitLab CI in Kubernetes, and I grab my containers from all different kinds of places. It's going to be API token. That's my final answer. I mean, you would install, I assume you're going to use Docker. You would configure an API token somewhere in the source system, and then you would configure it then on the, on the node or the machine that you're working on, so that when it goes out to fetch those containers through the internets, it will use a token. I'm totally guessing, but the answer is always a token and DNS. Official J Mike, Techno Tim, have you heard of PHP Tube? Oh, a free and open source YouTube Netflix like streaming video, hosting, Linux-based software. Whoa, there's a lot in there. I plan to use it to create my own sort of small YouTube platform. Would you be able to cover it on a video? I'll look at it. I'll look at it. It sounds interesting for sure. Yeah, it sounds interesting for sure. So it's basically exactly what you said, like hosting your own YouTube-esque like site. I assume you provide all the video sources, and then anyone visiting your site can play them. I assume it would do some transcoding, so pretty awesome. Sounds like it's right in my wheelhouse. Containerizing, self-hosting, transcoding. Yeah, it sounds cool. I'll have to look at it. For sure. If it's robust and popular and it looks like something that I would use, yeah, for sure. I'll take a look at it. Yeah, thanks for letting me know, for sure. I was going to say Fitbit. Flubit. Hey, thanks for the sub. FLBit. Thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. I got to get your name. Oh, here we go. I'm from Brazil. Relato. Report and consultoria. Consulting action in Portuguese language. All right. I am from Brazil. So it's Relato. Consultoria. I'll work on it. But thank you so much. Thank you. Well, welcome from Brazil, but thank you so much for helping me spell that phonetically and also giving me some background on what it means. Relato consultoria. All right, I got it now. I think so. Laszlo, it's Container Registry. We talked about it. Ayo, Captain Tidbit. How's it going? Penguin Airlines, ECR, Container Registry. Oh yeah, we're caught up now. Captain Tidbit. How hard is it to move Docker installation containers? I'm trying to determine if I can get started on my containers to move them to my new box or if I'd have to start all over. How hard is it? Well, it's actually not that hard. So I did something similar recently. Let me grab a drink. So I did something recently that was exactly that, but it was on the same box. And it doesn't make sense, but it will make sense here in a minute. It's super easy if you're using Docker Compose. Because in Docker Compose, you're going to have a YAML file that defines your whole entire Docker deployment, right? And so if you use the Docker CLI or Portainer to spin it up, it's really hard. I'm not going to lie. If you use Docker Compose, and you should probably use Docker Compose now that I say this, it's actually really easy. And because you just take your compose file, you move it to another machine, you say Docker Compose up -d, maybe force or whatever, and it spins up. And that will get you the Docker container. That won't get you the volume. So there's two parts if you want to migrate Docker containers to another machine. One, move all the volumes. Well, first, we're going to do this in chronological order. First, shut down all the containers so they can't write to the volumes anymore. Then move all the volumes. So if you use bind mount, move all those, rsync them over to your new machine. Then if you're going to do all that, I would probably write Docker Compose files for all of those Docker containers. Maybe you have a lot, I'm not sure. I had like 15. It kind of stunk after the first two, but then, it was all copy pasta from there on out. So it actually turned out okay. And I actually did it now, and I'm so glad I did because I end up spinning up those same services on other machines too, like Nginx for load balancer, or MySQL on another machine for replication, same with Mongo. So I can use those same exact files. So if you haven't, I would create those files and then I would basically destroy the one that's on there, delete the container that's on there, spin it up with the Compose version of it, which should be exactly the same, except for you have a YAML file now, make sure it works, and then move it over to the other machine. I highly recommend if anyone's doing Docker stuff, just when I say plain old Docker, it includes Compose, and I guess it doesn't really include Swarm, but it could. But if you're doing Docker outside of Kubernetes, highly recommend create Compose files because it makes your life so much easier. Maybe not in that moment, but later in that next moment. Hey, Ayakata, dude, Kappa 100. Yeah, thank you so much, dude. Thank you for your help yesterday in Discord. Yeah, no problem. All right, yeah, server builds. Yeah, you got some interesting stuff coming up. Sorry, I didn't recognize the name because I see avatars on Discord, but now that you say it, thanks for the help. I'm like, oh yeah, so you got a nice server build going. So it looks like you're figuring it out. Everything that you posted kind of looked okay. I'm glad you saw the pin conversions for the processor for dual socket motherboard, something I totally overlooked because I wasn't even looking for that. So, but then I did see it in the comments. So anyways, yeah, no problem. That's what I try to do as much as I can. There's lots of people in Discord that help too. So I really appreciate their help for sure. But yeah, good luck on your server. Looks like it's going to be pretty awesome. But yeah, Captain Tidbit, going back to that, or anyone who's doing Docker, create compose files because it'll make your life so much easier. And I know that, you know, it's super easy to write, you know, Docker run as a daemon, or, you know, and then pass in the name and do it. It's super easy to do it from the CLI, and it's super easy to do it from Portainer. And I know, you know, creating YAML kind of sucks. I'll put it that way. I could put it a little more bluntly, but you know, because it's you know, white space sensitive, it's kind of a pain. But the nice part is once it's going and it's working, you can source control it. You can throw it however you store your code or your config, store it there. So the next time you do it, all you got to do is Docker compose up and it's going. So yeah, that's my tip. And I went through that same thing the last week and a half because I was redoing one of my Portainer boxes, and I'm like, no more of this. Like, I'll use Portainer as a GUI to be able to remote in, quickly look at logs, you know, all the web GUI stuff that you would normally do when I don't have access to a CLI or don't want to even SSH into the box. You know, I'll use Portainer. But I'm at the point now where I don't start with Portainer anymore, and I don't start with Rancher. And maybe that's an evolution. It was for me. It was an evolution for me, and maybe it's an evolution for you too. So I don't start with those tools. And the thing is now I even have Portainer and a Docker Compose file too. So it's super easy. And I kind of had to do that for Traefik because I had to add a ton of labels. And once I started adding tons of labels, I'm talking like 6 or 7 labels to every pod, or every container, I should say, because it's not Kubernetes. I was like, no more of this. I'm Docker Compose because I can copy and paste all these labels so easy. I can't copy and paste those labels in Portainer. So yeah, use if you're plain old Docker, use Compose because you'll thank yourself later. Laszlo, getting a 403, pulling it. Yeah, so I talked about that token. Get a token, generate a token, give yourself read access to that container registry, and then use that token with your Docker config. Just Google it. You know, AC, whatever it is, Elastic ECR tokens, and then you only want read unless you're going to push up to it. I don't know how you're doing your if it's CI, obviously you need to push up to it. If you're just pulling it local for some other box, give it read only, and then configure your local Docker client, and you should be good to go. Gimli, Theon, hope you're doing well. I'm finally setting steps to my home lab. Oh, yeah, nice. I've upgraded my home lab network to Cat 6A, but cannot use my new PC yet due to the graphics card supply debacle that's going on now. I know it too. I did, however, find a rack mount for my Raspberries. So K3S cluster is my first project. Awesome. Yeah, it's super fun. It's super fun. And, you know, I have that Raspberry Pi. It's right here. It's in my Kubernetes cluster. It's just amazing, like how much work they can actually do. Like, I get it. You know, it's not going to, you know, you're not going to want your Plex spinning up on it, and you're most likely not going to want, you know, any workload like that running on a Raspberry Pi. But for most other things, like if you think about, you know, some typical pods that run in a lot of enterprises, it's a lot of web services, a lot of web servers, stuff like that. It handles it totally fine, and I'm just so amazed at how much power it actually has. Yeah, and I did have to tweak the fan. That PoE hat, like, people were, you know, telling me it's loud, and I'm like, it's not that bad. Like, my MacBook Pro is like on fire all day long. Sounds like a jet engine right next to me. But it was starting to bother me. But anyways, I found some settings you can tweak, and now the fan is like perfect. Like, I don't even hear it now unless it gets really hot, and then it kicks up like it should. But the default settings on the Raspberry Pi PoE hat it goes from 0 to 100. There's only 2 settings. Well, I guess there's 3 settings. There's off, then there's like 10%, and then there's 100%. You know. So anyways, I found some configs that helps me manage the steps in between. So. But yeah. So awesome. I know the debacle with video cards is it's not only video cards, it's CPUs too. It kind of stinks. I've wanted to build a new workstation for a while, and I haven't been able to. I was able to snag a new video card, fortunately, but still waiting on building my next system. Hopefully soon. Still waiting to see if we're going to see some more from AMD or Intel too later on this year. Laszlo, I'm trying to Kate's ECR login renew at the moment. Yeah. Tokens. It's all tokens. So if you're doing it in Kubernetes, there's got to be, there's a secret you'll probably use if you're doing it in a container. Whatever's pulling it, it's going to look for, depends on what's pulling it. It's a token. Tommy Hawk, how are you doing? I'm doing good. How are you doing? Doing good. I'm a little bit, I don't know. My eyes are tired, but yeah, doing excellent otherwise. FLBit, hi, working on Ubuntu Proxmox templates to set up in a K8s cluster, H8 K8s cluster. Nice. Yeah, I went through that same thing. I actually use the same Ubuntu template for now all of my servers because I didn't want to have to think about it ever again. I didn't want to have to think about it. And I didn't want to say like, oh, you're a Kubernetes node, you get 60 gigs, or oh, you're this other general purpose server, you get 20 gigs of space. And so I had enough space, so I was like, my general template now for all of my nodes looks like this. And I have some decent resources for them, so, and I can tune it afterwards, but my node looks like this. It's Ubuntu 20 LTS. Then I give it 8 cores. Hey, thank you. Oh, another one, dude. Thank you so much. Hey, what are your favorite containers and why? Ayakata. My favorite containers and why? Ooh, tough one. Yeah, this is a tough one. But I'll kind of rattle them off. I mean, I kind of know them in my head, and I might miss some of them. Portainer, obviously one. You don't think of Portainer as being a container. It's a container management system, but it actually runs in a Portainer, in a container too. So that's one of them. Rancher can run in a container. Arguably, it can run a few different ways too. But Rancher is another one. Those two give you amazing capabilities all within a container. Traefik is another one. Once again, it's like you don't think of these things as being containers that help you manage containers, but they are containers themselves. So those three by far have given me like so much capability over the last 2 years, 3 years. I just can't even believe it. And then there are ones, obvious ones, right? There's obvious ones like Nginx, I use a lot, I use a ton. MySQL, I use a ton. So you don't usually think of these general purpose, like, infrastructure type containers as being favorites, but they're, it's ubiquitous everywhere, and especially through my infrastructure. Ones I use a lot. Mongo too is another one. But then if we get into fun ones, because, everybody wants, to have fun with containers. My top ones that I use the most, Heimdall is probably my number one, mainly because it's my homepage. But Heimdall is super awesome. I just realized only recently, maybe I knew this before, but I forgot it, is that they have hooks too into Portainer now, which is kind of cool, but something keeps resetting my Portainer password and it's driving me crazy. Anyways, but Heimdall, super awesome, super lightweight. I know there's Organizer and there's a lot of other ones out there, but I love the simplicity of Heimdall, and then just surfacing some of that data through to your dashboard or to your homepage. It's super nice. Plex is another one that like I don't know how I did it before. I know how I did it before, but Plex in a container is so fantastic, and the service in general is so fantastic. I love it. I've been doing home media stuff for a long time, going all the way back to Windows XP Media Center Edition, going way back. And so I finally feel like Plex is now that media center that I wanted, 15 years ago. Because I have options for movies, for TV, for live TV, for DVR, encoding, sharing. Like it's fantastic. Necromage, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Welcome. Next favorite ones, I don't know. I'd have to look. I'm gonna sneak a peek at my dashboard because that'll help me. Give me some clues. That's Homebridge is another one that I use a ton. Homebridge is it's basically a bridge to your HomeKit devices. So I have, an Apple TV, which is my HomeKit hub. But then I have some devices that aren't HomeKit accessible. And so this is the bridge in between the two to make those HomeKit accessible. So Homebridge registers with HomeKit and gives it an interface and basically says, hey, I have a lot of devices connected to me. I'll tell you what they are later. And then people write plugins for those devices to convert them to HomeKit APIs. So I think it's really cool. I mean, I use HomeKit for a handful of things. You know, there's a couple things that that keep me on HomeKit, but for the most part, I have a lot of Google Home stuff too, and that stuff just works. Laser Tasek, thanks for following, appreciate it. Yeah, I can just rattle some more off. I mean, Pi-hole has always been awesome. You can use it in container or a VM. That's fantastic. Kibana, Grafana, I'm just looking at my dashboard here. All ones I use and all fantastic. So yeah, I mean, tons of them. UniFi Network Controller is another great one. I don't use it in a container anymore because I have a UDM Pro, but another container that's just like, wow, pretty amazing capabilities you're getting out of this, this container image. So yeah, Ayakata, yeah, that's what I go with. I go with the ones that, one, I use a lot, or two, give me like these incredible capabilities, or three, just plain old, just kind of boring infrastructure ones like Nginx and, MySQL and Mongo, and I shouldn't talk those down because they're doing amazing things too, but, you just think, oh, yeah, it's a database, or hey, it's a reverse proxy or a proxy in general. People don't usually think of them as their favorite, but, I use them a ton. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Going back a little bit to templates. Yeah, I set mine up. So mine high level, Ubuntu server, LTS. I give them all 8 cores. I give them all host CPU. I give them all 16 gigs of RAM, but it's ballooning. So I start at 2048 megabytes, go up to 16 gigs, and I give them all 60 gigs of hard drive space. I tell them all, I don't start them, I don't run them at start, but I do set the startup delay and the shutdown delay in case I do enable it, so I don't ever have to worry about it again. I set those to 15 seconds each. I've done this so many times, if you can't tell. I can rattle it off. Networking is VirtIO, and then QEMU agent, I make sure I enable that. So I do all of that in my template. So the only thing I need to do when I spin them up is, well, I got to change host name stuff. I got to do some SSL stuff. Oh, I didn't talk about how, what's baked in the image, not much. But then the only thing I need to do when I boot them up outside of some internal OS stuff or networking stuff that I do within the OS is choose whether or not I want them to start up or shut down automatically with the system. And that's what all of my templates look like for Proxmox. They're the same. And so I could have, I could pick and choose and resize the hard drive, but I'm like, nope, 60 gigs until 60 gigs doesn't work anymore. And that might depend on how much disk space you have too. But yeah, that's how I do it. Penguin Airlines, 403 is forbidden, permission problem. Yep, I am authentication. Yeah, needs tokens. You're missing tokens. But wondering if there are better solutions to manage auth with AWS on a private cluster. It's all tokens. It's always tokens. Hey, Cypher, what's happening, Tim? How's it going? Gimli Theon. Oh, right. I forgot. Next purchase is going to be a 6U rack, a UDM, and a USW24 Pro. Nice, Gimli. Yeah, it's starting to sound a lot like my infrastructure now too. Yeah, it's so awesome. I know a lot of people. UniFi in general is totally polarizing unless you're talking about access points, and I think everybody agrees their access points are pretty good. Anything else is and people generally agree that their switches are pretty good. When you start talking about, routers and your gateway, that's where, people, it's pretty polarizing. And I get it. It's a very personal thing. I love mine. It's been fantastic. And they've been revving the software so fast this last month. It's so great. Like every third day, there's a new update. I'm like, who is this company? But I think they're, I don't know. This is all speculation, but I think they're revving so fast because they were probably in some kind of hump or had to get a lot of their devices at a certain level, and now they're just revving super fast. Either that or they hired more engineers. Who knows what it is? Either way, I'm so glad that they're revving so fast because getting more features, more fixes really fast. It's fantastic, and their integration with their I won't go on forever, but it's more than just that piece of hardware. Their dashboards are they beat any dashboard I've ever seen in my entire life. They're so awesome. Logging, that's a totally different story. But their dashboards and visibility and the information that I get out of them are just are fantastic. Except for logs, that's like is terrible because it doesn't exist. But yeah, it's super awesome. And then the integration with their apps, like their app on Android or iOS is just like, whoa, like this is like next level app stuff. And like, those are some of the things you don't get if you roll your own and stuff like that. That can be a pain. Anyways, I'm just rambling and gushing at the same time. Let's see, Techno, starting to mess around with coin acceptor for an arcade machine I'm making. Nice, not charging to play games, only for personal use, but a way to save change. I like it. Yeah, so coin op, so you're gonna put some coins in, play some games. I like it. I like where you're going. Save some money. You guys are figuring it out. Thank you. Captain Pitt, hello and greetings from Germany. Hello and greetings from the US. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Deep Dragon, Cloudflare DNS is rather good. I totally agree, 100% agree. I would prefer they left you have wildcards without having a paid account, but I get it. Yeah, I know. I totally agree. But wildcards on Traefik or Let's Encrypt are super, I don't want to say easy. Once you get them going, it's great. I use wildcards for 5, 6, 7 domains I have here, and then I use another wildcard for an internal domain here I have here, and it's great once you have it. And if you want to put in the work, you know, sometimes I argue like, why don't I just spend the $100 or whatever it is to get SSL for a year and instead of spending 100 hours of my life, you know, to get it working internally. And, you know, I think we all know the answer to that because the spending 100 hours, not that I probably put over 100 hours into SSL in my life at home. You know, you learn so much from doing it. And once you get it with Traefik or Let's Encrypt, whatever you use, certbot, you never have to worry it again until you break something like I did this morning. Let's see. Deep Outer, I think this is the last year that my state is observing daylight savings times. Oregon, all right. Oh, they're just like, we're done with that. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, it's kind of a pain. You know, I lived in a state for a long time, a little corner of a state where we never observed daylight savings time. And it sounds great because it's always the same, but then you run into kind of what we touched on earlier, everyone else changes. And so I lived, you know, really close to Michigan and Illinois for a while. So we were always just like, who knows? You know, if you tried to schedule meetings, try to go places that were open or closed, you just never knew what time it was. So I lived in this corner of a state that didn't observe daylight savings time. And then the state above me was daylight savings time east. And the state next to me was daylight savings time central. And all within, you know, well, one was within 10 miles, one was within about 60 miles. So it was just like, you never knew. I mean, when you got on meetings, people are just like, what time is it there? I think you're gonna start to see that too after the change. Debouter, modding games is so much fun. I remember the old days Jedi Academy mods. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, modding games is super fun. I think it's super fun. I modded a ton of games in the past, and sometimes I would spend more time modding the game than actually playing it. I would spend, you know, just so much time getting all of my mods just right, fire up the game, just look right. Okay, yeah, I got my 4K, whatever, upgraded textures, reflections look a little weird. Let's grab another reflections, you know, mod. Yeah, it's super fun. And then I'd be like, okay, now I'm going to actually play the game. And then I kind of lose interest. Penguin Islands, Takano, that's a cool idea. You can build your savings and play games at the same time. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it is. I should have CoinOp on this, my PC right here, or not my MacBook, because I kind of have CoinOp the opposite way because I get paid to use my Mac for work. But I feel like I should have CoinOp on my Windows PC here because it's usually personal stuff that like I got to keep inserting money into. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. I like where you're going with this. Iacata ordered that rack, StarTech 12U, nice, and a server chassis. I also got all the components for a server chassis to build. Thanks again for the help on Discord. Can't wait to get this and build it all. Yeah, no problem at all. I spot checked it. You found, I think, some of the details that I didn't see. I spot checked it. It looked good to me, but yeah, super excited for you. It's super fun. It's super fun, especially you're going from, I don't know what you're going from. I assume it's your first server build. You're doing server, rack, everything. So you get all the fun of building a PC or a server, and then putting that inside of a rack and then building that rack. So it's super fun, super fun. I mean, I went through that like, I don't know, year ago, maybe less. And it was so fun. I was just camping out in the basement all day. PC Geek, hey, how's it going, man? How you doing? Official Mike J, Deep Dragon, straw poll is up. What are you talking about? Yeah, it was news to me if it's going down. I use it every week on my Twitter. He said it's going to be going away. I don't know if he was saying it was or is. Software out. Hey, I'm deciding to buy a Mac Mini M1, 8 gigs of RAM. Nice. Yeah, Mac Minis are super awesome. I think one is going to be in my future soon, if not for work, for something else. Just because, yeah, it's one, they're awesome, and two, you need a Mac device to build iOS apps, and so might be time to go check out the M1 Mac Mini. Sounds awesome. I heard they're pretty performant too. JMO, my little setup now is a Dell T7600 with two Xeon E5 2643s and 32 gigs of RAM running pfSense, TrueNAS, and Rancher installed on Docker. There are two options. The first, I upgrade this with two E5 2680s and more RAM, but because of the chassis, I don't really have room for expanding in the hard drive without buying anything else. The second is an HP server, now with 4-core CPU with 16 gigs of RAM, but if I sell my Dell, I can upgrade to two E5 2450s and 128 gigs of RAM, and it can house double the amount of hard drives. That sounds like a pretty decent upgrade to me. Yeah, that's always tough when your server, is I don't want to say all in one, but when you're counting on that storage to be local on that server, it's just another constraint that you have. It's like, okay, well, I'm whatever. You have 4 drives or 6 drives or whatever, however many drives. Once you run out of, bays to put those drives in, you're almost forced to upgrade to another machine, and then you go through this whole process. Okay, well, what do I do now? Yeah, that's tough. That's where I think some people start going with disk shelves, and then it's like, okay, well, you have enough compute. You can always add more RAM over time, and then a disk shelf, you just plug it in. However you connect it, however you want to connect it, and you can connect that storage directly to it. Yeah, I went through that. I outgrew the 6 drives that my Dell R710 had, and that's when I ended up buying the disk shelf, because I'm like, I'm not doing this again. But I bought big drives at the same time, so now I'm like, I still have 6 drives in there. Strawpoll.com is taking me upwards of an hour to show results for a poll. It shows them all. Oh yeah. JMO, and has a built-in IPMI and other benefits, but the Dell has too. Hey, Optimus Gray. Hey, thanks for the sub. Optimus Gray has subscribed to Tier 1. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for the support. Appreciate it. How are you doing today? How's it going? JMO was saying, I don't want to run 2 servers simultaneously. I hear you, but I got the HP for free. So if I sell one, I can upgrade the other one, and the opposite. Yeah, I hear you too. You guys are talking about straw poll. I don't know if it's up or not. I'm sure it is. If someone says it is. Official Mike J. No, you guys are really into this. Deep Dragon. It's been like this for about a month now. It's basically a write-off now. Yeah. Sites like that are hard to generate revenue unless they, decorate them with ads, and then everyone has ad blockers on, or someone spins one up with no ads, and then everyone uses that, or that's a tough market. But if you do one thing and you do it well, and you continue to evolve with your user base and continue to acquire like new users, I think you do fine. But it's crowded. Debouter, I own the domain. If someone would like to make a service, I have tried to set up PHP poll-based service multiple times, but I'm a sysadmin first, software developer second. Yeah, like I said, that's tough. It's probably crowded space. I mean, I'm sure SurveyMonkey, didn't they buy someone that had, was it a pterodactyl for their icon or avatar, or either that was T-Rex? There's a lot of voting places out there. None were as simple as Strawpoll, though. Oddly Otter, I have lurked on your YouTube channel for a while. Nice to catch you live. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. We're in very different time zones. Yeah, I know. It's, a lot of people are, and that's why I try to make this one on Saturday earlier than my one during the week that I'm postponing for a while. Is because of that. It's just to be able to include more people. Because the one at night usually doesn't work for anyone unless you're in the U.S. And then, even that, is tough for some folks. Fried chicken tendies. Recently found you. Love your content. I'm a part-time IT student and have learned a lot from you. Hey, thanks. Thanks for coming in and stopping in and making it all the way over from YouTube. Appreciate it. Yeah, and thank you. Thanks for the kind words. Just an FYI, but it censored the domain. Okay. Let's see. Ivo Dib. I'm going with that. Ivo Dib. Tim, first time you're here, but following your YouTube channel for a while now. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Watching live from Bulgaria. 8 hours difference. Wow. Yeah. So it's late there. It's midnight. Party's just starting in Bulgaria. Midnight. All right. Just finished my K3S cluster following your guide. No major issues. Nice. Question. It is now HA, but there is a single DB VM and a single, LB VM. How can I make it truly HA? Yeah, great question. Because a lot of people, that's the first thing they say when they're like, H3K3S, this thing's not HA. And I get it. And I'm not saying you're saying that. Like, I totally get it. You have to HA all the things, And so then I'm like, okay, is your switch HA? Is your power redundant? But anyways, it's just the difference between the K3S HA install and the K3S non-HA install. Obviously, you have to make all the rest of your services fault tolerant or higher availability, I should say. And so, I'm kind of doing some of that right now. And so, is there a way to do a single DB VM into a single? Sorry, my eyes are killing me. When there is a single DB, yeah. So how can you do it truly HA? I guess is the question you're trying to ask, and I've been working on that actually the last couple of days. First things first is to make your database higher available. I'm going to say that higher, right? Because anyways, so you make it higher available. How do you do that? On MySQL, you use replication. And then, so if you're going to use replication, you have a couple of options. There's a couple of ways you can configure it. You can do a master to master, which is like a two-way sync. You can do a master to slave, which is a one-way sync. And you can configure it either way. What I think I'm gonna do, and maybe I'll add some documentation at some point, is I'm going to do, I found this article and I'm following it, a master to master sync, so a two-way sync, so they're both writing to each other, but only make my first database available to the cluster, so they all read and write from there, and basically the other one will still get those updates, and then if the database goes down, I'm gonna end up failing over to the other one. And so, that's how I'm configuring it right now. The load balancer is kind of the same thing. Multiple load balancers, use DNS, and then you use, what's the name? Come on, help me out. Not network D. My brain is fried. I can't believe I'm Googling this. Load. I'm sure if I scroll down in the comments, you guys are all like, yeah, it's what's it called? Oh man. I got to get the name right because I don't want to mess it up. Keep Alive D. There we go. Duh. I always forget the name. I don't know why. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, so I have step one now. I have master to master replication with my two MySQL databases. So they're reading and writing to each other. I connect to those via DNS name, and I'm so glad I use DNS. I must have known that someday I'm going to change something, but I'm going to end up creating, I'm going to have Keep Alive D on both of those systems, and then I'm going to have Keep Alive D prioritize the first database, and only fail over to the second database. And then what I'm going to use is keep alive D to have one VIP, so one virtual IP, pointing at my old DNS name. So it's going to be awesome. It's just I'm going to swap in DNS where the DNS was pointing to. Right now it's pointing directly at a database, but soon it will point directly at the keep alive D VIP. And then those databases are on two different servers. So that's the database piece. Now you can scale out as many as you want and using that model. It gets a little complicated with MySQL, I think, for replication, because you got to set that up so many times. It's kind of a pain in the butt. They don't do it like Mongo, which is super awesome, which you just shard them or you replicate them. But anyways, so that's that. And then the load balancer. So all of the K3S agents register with that load balancer, going to do the same thing. Put a load balancer on another machine, and then I'm going to use keep alive D on both of my load balancers, create a VIP, virtual IP. Virtual IP is then presented to those K3S agents, where they register, and then it should all work. And then do the DNS swap. So now DNS won't point directly at my one load balancer. My DNS will now point at my keep alive D, paired load balancer, or my virtual IP, my VIP. So yeah, I've been going through that. It's kind of tough. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of tough, especially the database stuff, like getting those to sync properly. So I'm gonna throw this out there. If you're ever thinking of replicating MySQL, so I'm not a DBA, like this stuff is relatively new to me, at least going this far into databases. If you're ever gonna do it, set up your bin logging right away. And if you just Google replicating MySQL, you'll see it. And it's just a flag that you turn on in your my.cnf in your config. There's like 3 lines you put in there. Do it in the very beginning, because it makes everything easier later, because it can track the progress of all the commands. It knows where it is. And it knows how to replay those operations a lot easier on your second one when you add them. But no one ever does it on the first one. They're like, figure out replication easier later. Turn it on as soon as you initialize your first MySQL database. It's going to generate some more logs and some files, but whatever. They're tiny, but they're super useful when you add another one. Anyways, that's how I'm going to do mine soon, because surprisingly, I have a new Proxmox node in my cluster. Super small. Maybe I'll show it off sometime. But it's very tiny. It's my old Intel NUC, and that Intel NUC is off 99% of the times, and it used to run Windows, and it was just there for fun. And I thought, wonder if this thing will run Proxmox. And oh yeah, it does. So anyways, I've been going through that the last week or so, just like, adding services, trying to make everything HA, so I can gracefully fail over or only run my Intel NUC at some point if I need to take my servers down and have only my most critical services running. So it gives me some more flexibility too for my servers. If I need to take them down for maintenance, whatever, that guy will most likely always be up. And I will not touch that as much as everything else I touch, right? Because he'll have K3S nodes, or he'll have K3S workers, K3S agents, one DNS, one database, one load balancer, and I'm sure I'm missing something else. He'll basically, and one Longhorn node. So he'll have one of each type running on him, which, it's really a low powered environment, but a low resource environment too. So I gotta tune it. But then that gives me an ability to shut anything down at any point, and I'm fine. And so I think I'm going to do that on every server that I have, one of each type on each server. So then I can shut down 2 of 3 at any point in time and be totally fine. If I want to shut both my one use down, Intel NUC takes over. If I want to shut down, my Intel NUC and one of my servers, the other server takes over. So yeah, that's what I've been planning. I actually have a diagram, poorly, very poorly. Maybe someday I'll turn it into something else. This is my diagram that I've been scribbling on of how it works. So it's actually right here on my desk too. So this is exactly how it works. And because I had to diagram it, I had to get it out of my head and on a piece of paper into my notebook. And so that's what I was doing. I've been, just chipping away at it the last week or so and started implementing some stuff. So anyways, that was a lot about making things HA. I've learned a ton. I mean, John from Discord has been kind of going through the same thing. And I think he got to the point where he was, reading from one database and writing to another or vice versa. And so I'm trying to avoid that split brain situation. And so far, I think I'm doing it. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, maybe I'll put something out in Discord with some notes once I figure it out. I don't know if it warrants a video because it's pretty complex and it's pretty far down the rabbit hole. It's like a niche of a niche, but who knows? But thank you. Yeah. It's funny you asked that question, and sorry I had so much to say about it. It's just exactly what I've been working on for the last week. So if you want to do all that, stay tuned or ping me in Discord and I'll share what I know as I figure it out. And as always, I try to keep most of my video documentation up to date as much as it can be. I've been throwing random stuff in there too because I'm like, why not? Like, does it have to be a video for me to have notes on how to do something? No. And so until I launch a different site, which I've kind of been working on too, they're gonna go into GitHub. So yeah, just start my GitHub repo, look for the changes, and maybe I'll launch something on how to do high availability, a higher availability than just making Kubernetes high availability, because Kubernetes has external dependencies that need to be high availability HA as well. Harry McFlurry, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. Howdy folks, how's it going, Salvarius? Dan the Data Man. I'm not going to get it wrong this time. Not Dan Tendo Man. Hey, Iakata. I want to say Iakata, but Iakata. I'm going to go Iakata because I's are usually E's unless it's in English. Hey, thanks. Dude, 200 bits. Thank you so much. What do you think is the best way to do NAS for Plex? Yeah, this one's tough. I'll tell you how I do it, and then you can poke holes at it, or you can take it, or you can give it back, or whatever. So I'll tell you how I do it. So I containerize Plex. Plex is running in a container, and then I mount storage for it. And then that storage mount is actually, I use SMB. Boo, hiss. I know, I use Samba. So I use SMB for it, but there's a reason. So I use SMB shares that mount my recorded videos, that mount my TV shows, movies, you name it, all of my media, music. And that's in my NAS on TrueNAS. So TrueNAS has an SMB share that shares out that media to my Plex server. And I chose SMB for one reason. It's just so that on my Windows machines, I can access those files. That's pretty much what it boils down to. I could have used NFS, and I'm sure there's ways to get NFS working right on Windows, but I was just like, I feel like this is like too much crossing the streams. And my Plex server, it's not like, the overhead of SMB or the quickness of NFS really doesn't matter. I'm streaming, 8 megabits per second, tiny, even on, 1080p videos or whatever, or my 4K TV that I record, it's what, 30 megabits per second or something. So it's super tiny. Anyways, the bit rate is super small. So I'm not worried too much about performance, but I did choose SMB. So it's Plex in a container, mounted, mounts from the host to the container. That host mounts are Samba shares out to TrueNAS. And so TrueNAS holds most of my data, almost all my data. So, and then I use TrueNAS specifically for a couple things, and it's NFS, it's Samba, it's MinIO, so object storage, and I'm sure there's one more. Oh, iSCSI, and those are the things that I get out of my NAS, and my NAS that I use is TrueNAS because it's super awesome. Yeah, hope that helps, man. And whether you want to use Samba or NFS is totally up to you. Like I said, I just did Samba so that I know that my Mac and Windows machines can connect to it, no problem. I can't always say that with NFS and Windows. I'm sure there's ways. I've never gone down that path because I feel like that's cats and dogs living together. I don't know. I wish they would. I wish it was. I'm totally kidding. Ghostbuster reference. Anyways, St. Paul Lau. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. The Quantum Penguin. Oh, man. The Quantum Penguin. I like it. Wait, did I miss this? No, I did. I apologize. Dan the Data Man. I'm not going to say Dan Man. Dan the Data Man. There's no the, but I'm going to add the. Hi, Techno Tim. I'm trying to learn about Ansible using AWX. Nice, yeah. After weeks of trying and failing, installing it. I finally made it. But since you have more experience with Docker, please help me with this. Install modules to run with Ansibles from my AWX. So I've looked into AWX. I haven't used it yet. I keep looking at it. Their documentation is pretty sparse, and I get it because they want you to use Tower, and Tower's their paid product. I'm speculating on why their documentation is sparse for AWX, but it kind of is for setup, especially for self-hosting, especially. So you got me beat. I haven't done it yet. It's in my backlog of things to do. I run all my Ansible commands locally, but I would love for them to be in a web UI like AWX. And so it's coming. It's in my backlog. I wish I could help you more. Install modules to run with Ansible from my AWX. Yeah, you got me beat. Yeah, I wish I could contribute more to that because I haven't done it. I know there are people in Discord who absolutely have because they had brought it up before I even knew about it. I think as soon as it went open source. But yeah, let me know. Maybe when I get there, if I do something on it, which it's in my backlog, I absolutely will figure that out. That just comes with the game. The Penguin Quantum, the Penguin Quantum. What? Eyes are way tired. I gotta check my time. The Quantum Penguin, I followed your guide on setting up Plex and Rancher and was unable to access the web interface of Plex. Could not be accessed from inside of my own network. Unable to even ping the server. Any ideas? I think a couple of people have had this, and it ends up being something with their router. I don't know if you're using like Google Wi-Fi devices or something. I'm not sure. Like you'll never be able to ping like a MetaLB IP. I don't know if you're exposing it through MetaLB. But if you're doing it on Rancher and you're doing a single node, it's just going to be your server IP. So it's going to be, you access it through HTTPS server IP 32400. And that should show it. Like there's no reason why it shouldn't if you're using host port. Because it's the only node that's there and it should be exposed. Some people end up going the extra mile and just do host-based networking, which means it's I don't want to say it's almost the same thing, but it's the same idea. But all of your networking now is actually on the host, where it can communicate with every port. It can expose every port that Plex opens up. They open up a ton of ports, or you can use a ton of ports. You really only need one. But if you're going to do discovery, there's a little bit more, and there's a bunch of ports in there. You can try doing use host-based networking. That's in the advanced section of Rancher when you set up that pod or that workload. But yeah, other than that, that's tough. I'd have to see logs. I look in your pod logs or something like that too. Look for a clue in there. But worst case scenario, use host-based networking, see if it works, and then work backwards from there. Because devices on your network should absolutely be able to see it. Can you ping your Rancher server? I mean, you're obviously in your Rancher server, and then the port for Plex is going to be 32400, so you should be able to just access it over that. If not, it's not getting exposed properly, so the networking's not set up in there. Gimli Theon, is YAML also line ending sensitive, by the way? Ooh, I don't know. I do see line ending changes sometimes in YAML. I don't think it is, because I see line ending changes in git commits sometimes, and doesn't seem to break anything. Yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, Penguin Airlines, he's on it. Thank you. Dan the Data Man, longtime sys network admin. I tested Proxmox for Homely after I seen your video about it. Went with the ESXi 6.7. Man, I love Proxmox. Most Unix systems are containers straight out of Proxmox. Love it. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't have a license for ESXi. I'd probably still be using it because it's a fantastic product. The whole storage and thing, not supporting, only supporting hardware RAID and certain adapters, kind of it's tough for me. But yeah, I love it. Easton, resub, tier 1, 7 months streak. Dude, how's it going, man? Let's go. So happy to be a part of this community. Dude, Easton, how you doing, man? Thank you so much. 7 months, dude. Wow, coming up on a year. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it, dude. But Dan, yeah, totally. I'm a huge fan of Proxmox. I was just thinking earlier today, I'm like, there's nothing else out there that, that I would use And there's nothing I can really complain about Proxmox. And I was like thinking in my head, like, if I were to complain about Proxmox, what would it be? I thought of one thing, but it's not even important. But their ID system. All right, I'm gonna talk about it. Their ID system for machines is weird. Like, especially when you go into cluster. Like, you create a machine, it gets an ID of 121 or whatever it is, 101, 121. We'll say 121. And then you go and delete 121. Well, that ID can be reused. Yeah, no big deal. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I'm not up in, the 200 ranges. We're going to reuse IDs. That's only cool if you ever, if you never back that system up or don't care about backups, because the name of the backup, I think, is also the ID. So it gets super confusing. I think they got some work to do on the backup stuff, but I'm sure they will. Anyways, I love Proxmox. This is my only complaint. If that's the only thing I can complain about something that's free and open source and gives me tons of capabilities, that's a huge win, because that's just nitpicking right there. Same. Welcome to Home Lab. Yeah, for sure. Quantum Penguin. I use an IP address, not a FQDN right now. I spun it up. Portainer had no issues, so it appears to be Rancher's K3S issues. I know. Penguin Air. I know Quantum Penguin. 100% I know what it is. As soon as you say K3S, boom, light bulb went off. Don't install pods on the local cluster on K3S. Don't. I mean, it's yeah. So, yeah. It depends. I do, but then sometimes there can be conflicts with the service load balancer. I know absolutely on the Docker version, you can't. There's communication is blocked. Like, you don't have access to that service load balancer. Like, they're firewalled off within that Docker container. Or I should say they're not exposed, which in effect is kind of a firewall. Anolan, thanks for follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. But if you're doing Rancher and K3S, I'm going to backpedal a little bit. If you're doing Rancher and K3S, you can do it on local. Like, you should, unless they've changed something recently, but I'm using Rancher, I think 257 now. You can still use local. They recommend not to, but if you choose not to, you're going to end up spinning up so many more servers just to even get Rancher going. Look at networking. Tell me how you have exposed, because I'm curious. How are you exposing it? Through an ingress, through node port, or host port? What are you using? Because I think that'll help. Gimli, love Pies too. Since I'm getting USW 24 Pro, I can run them in PoE too. So going to for sure. Yeah, me too. For sure. That's part of the reason why I got so many PoE ports, because I'm like, well, maybe I can run some Pies, and I already am. It's pretty awesome. And it's nice having a PoE port like right here at my desk too. Plugged in, like last night, plugged in a camera, configured it right here. I feel like I'm back in tech support days where I have all the tools I need right here. But yeah, Pi, plug it in, power's on. Camera, plug it in, power's on. It's super, super fun and awesome. So yeah, configured some cameras. I'm going to set up either later today or tomorrow, and they're already pre-configured right here. Didn't have to go down in the basement. Laszlo, hey, thanks for your help. The chat stream was a bit delayed, so that's why context was off. Oh, no worries at all. It does get kind of delayed sometimes. And speaking of delayed, I do have to, I said in the beginning, it's going to be a little bit shorter. So I do have to kind of wrap things up. I'm going to look for ones that either call me out specifically or are easy answers. No, I'm kidding. How close am I? Yeah, I'm gonna look for mentions, only because like last time I did this, it ended up being the longest stream ever. Not that I wouldn't want to hang out forever, but I do have to be mindful of a couple of things that I promised. So official Mike J, Techno Tim, I plan on using either OwnCloud or Nextcloud for my computer business for customer file backup. I have a bunch of hardware sitting in my storage unit, 3 quad socket enterprise servers I got for dirt cheap 4 to 5 years ago. Should I go ahead and use one of those 2 for backup? Yeah, I mean, yes. Well, I mean, it depends. So, I mean, it depends on your backup strategy. If you have none, yeah, absolutely. If you have one and it's only the cloud, you might want to consider another local backup of stuff. I almost have the whole, 3-2-1 strategy. I'm like a 3-2.5 or something. No, I'm a 2.5-2-1 strategy right now. But anyways, yeah, I mean, offsite backups are great. I mean, you got to do it in case your house burns down, in case something happens, your internet goes down, you name it. And then two, a local copy of some of that data is always great too, because it makes restoration super duper fast. That's something that I've been working on. I have a ton of data, and it's not like I'm a hoarder. It's just when you create content, you end up with, 30 gigs in a weekend of just raw video files. So I've been trying to tune that. Yours is customer data, so it's a lot smaller, should be a lot smaller, depending on their files or what you're backing up. I totally agree. But one thing you're going to have to consider too, if these are, older servers, and you're going to have them running all the time, it's going to use some additional power. So you want to make sure that, they're pretty efficient, especially for backups. I know that, in my head, I probably think, oh, it's a backup server, whatever, just throw whatever at it. But, that backup server is going to be on 24/7. So, yeah, like your other servers are too. You want to make sure that, they're kind of efficient, because sometimes, you could pay the cost of whatever that server is over, for running it for a year. So anyways, yeah, definitely. If you don't have backups locally, do them locally. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it sounds awesome. Own cloud, next cloud. Sounds fun. Sounds super fun. It's awesome that you would have people. Yeah, so I'm curious what business you're in, but we can get into that later, because customer backups. I'm curious. Gimli Theon, by the way, Techno Tim, did you ever see the 3-video Ubiquity install guide from Yeah, absolutely I have. Absolutely. Gimli Theon, that is, I talk about that video more than probably any other creator on while I'm live, because a lot of people ask if I'll do a video on VLANs, and I say, nah, why would I when a great one already exists? And so, yeah, I always recommend It's My Natural Color. If anyone's setting up VLANs, especially with UniFi, or even without UniFi, and you just kind of want to understand like why you would separate your VLANs out for IoT devices, and you kind of want to have a plan, that's, platform agnostic. It's My Natural Color. His video, I think it's part 3, where he talks about VLANs and sets them all up. It's fantastic. I talk about it a lot, and every time I start talking about it, I talk about it for 3-4 minutes. It's great. Even if you're not going to use UniFi, it's great to just understand like the concepts and why you would do it and how you would segment that traffic. As well as he even provides like a Google Sheet for you too, that's pre-filled out for your network. So it's 100% agree. Gonna look for mentions. Official Mike J. Would love to see a video on setting up server panel like Pterodactyl server panel on Ubuntu 2004 for game servers. Pretty cool panel, or even a Windows VM with the TCA admin, which does the same thing. Yeah, I've thought about it before with I 100% considered it. It's in my backlog. So, Pterodactyl game server, they have all this nomenclature like eggs and wings and like for different, what's a server, what's a node, what's containers. And basically running game servers, and Pterodactyl's the panel that controls all of that. I think it's super awesome. It's a lot of infrastructure. Hey, Podcast Live. Hey, thanks for follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. So I have considered it, at the same time, it's like, okay, I could do some of these things, I could do some of them in Kubernetes as well. But I've just kind of been like on the fence. I know it exists and it's super awesome. It's a lot of infrastructure to spin up, and I need to have some time, and I need to soak it in and understand it. But yeah, I've seen it quite a few times. It's like, it's so awesome if you're gonna, you're running a game hosting company, or even if you just want to be able to spin up, 3-4 servers that you and your friends play on and be able to manage them. It's super awesome. Gumshoe Noir. Hi, Tim. Recently bought a Supermicro 2U server chassis model CSE 826 with a SAS 826 TQ B20 backplane. A lot of model numbers in here. With a motherboard and some Xeons. I'm gonna trim it down. 6.4, 6 cores. Ooh, CPUs. 12, 4 gig. ECC register module RAM. Geez, a lot of model numbers in here. Sorry, my eyes are just killing me right now. 6 gigabit RAID controller and configured for pass-through. 12 hot swap bays. I'd like to run RAID 1 internal for the OS. TrueNAS or Proxmox. Is there a way to do a low-profile PCI card I could add for RAID 1? All of that. And is there a low-profile? So you want to do RAID 1. This one's kind of tough. Because when I think of So you basically just want a mirror. And so maybe one exists. I'm not sure. I'm sure there is, like Rocket Raid, or I forget what they are. I don't know off the top of my head. It makes me wonder too, like, if you're gonna run Proxmox and then maybe put TrueNAS on top of it, a couple of things. If you're gonna virtualize TrueNAS, you're going to need some kind of HBA controller or pass all of those individual drives through to TrueNAS, because TrueNAS wants ZFS. Proxmox can use ZFS too, but you wouldn't create your ZFS on the host and then pass it to the guest. That's like, no, you wouldn't do that. You would give TrueNAS direct access to those disks, either directly or through an HBA controller. And so then I start to think, okay, well, if you're going to do that, you could very easily set up ZFS on the host, right? Set up ZFS on the host for the OS or for your virtual machines, as well as your OS, and have, get software read ZFS with a mirror and get some redundancy there. And then pass through your HBA controller to a TrueNAS virtual machine, which the VM itself is, still on RAID 1 from the host. But the volume for your drives for its ZFS volume is coming from the host's disks that's passed through directly. It's exactly like my infrastructure, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's very similar to mine. I don't know if I would throw in a hardware RAID in there if you're going to go Proxmox. If you're going to go Proxmox, I wouldn't use any hardware RAID anywhere, because it has ZFS. So why would you, unless, you have RAM constraints, but even that can be tuned. And the same thing goes for TrueNAS. Like it uses ZFS first. So there's no need for a hardware RAID card there. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, I'm going to look for mentions because I do have to kind of wrap it up. I do apologize. I'm so sorry. Penguin Airlines, oh man, that hurts. Do you like using blank or lucid charts or something? Well, at least handwritten drawing is better than no documentation at all. I actually think handwritten drawing is a great place to start to do, before you know exactly what you're going to draw. The thing that I still love about hand drawing is that there are no constraints. There are no, there's no onboarding with tooling and all of that. There are no constraints, a pen and a paper. And so before I have things formalized, I use pen and paper to draw my diagrams. And for charting, it just depends. I've used Google's tools. I've used Visio. I've used so many charting tools. And most of the time I get distracted. Like, I want the right icons, or I want, how do I do this in this tool? Or, I've used Lucid Chart too. I get distracted. So at least with the pencil and paper, I can get the ideas out of my head. And then once I turn them into something real, if they ever get there, I'll definitely use something better for it. But yeah, this isn't my documentation. This is my ideation. So once it goes into implementation, it might make it in a chart. It probably should, but I don't know. The tooling is kind of all over the place. I just want something super simple that I can draw. And if I had my Wacom pad in here still, I would have drawn it digitally just so I could preserve it. But I'll probably end up taking a picture of this until I get it into a real chart, put it in the backlog. Because it's tough. I don't know. I don't like spending the time on diagramming stuff if it's going to change. And so this is just me dumping it out of my brain. But then I totally should. It's a prioritization thing. Do I build something else, or do I go back and create charts? It's tough. It's tough. But yeah, it is one step up from nothing. But I think it's a big step up because one, it helped me figure some stuff out. I don't have to keep it all up in my brain. Now I know it's on this piece of paper and I can change it if I want. It's tough. All right, I'm looking for, dude. Iakata. I'm going with Iakata. Before you leave, just want to say thank you. Hope you have a bomb day. Dude, thank you so much. Dude, appreciate all the cheering, man. All the bits. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, dude. Good luck on your server. It's coming. I don't know if you ordered it last night or today or whenever, but it'll be here by next week. So you'll have to let me know in Discord how it goes, man. Dude, looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. All right. Budney, hello, Techno Tim. Agree with your router modem being the issue with Rancher. My Xfinity combo was causing issues. Changed out my own equipment. Now it works. Thanks for the tutorials. No problem, Budney. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for chiming in, because that's one that I never run into myself. And then someone's like, it's your router. And I'm thinking in my head, like, how could it be your router? But for some reason, I think Google Wi-Fi devices have this same thing too. I don't know if it's, I don't know what they do, because I don't use any of those devices and I don't have Comcast. So thank you. Yeah, I do appreciate you chiming in and saying that, because I've never gotten to the bottom of that, of what it is. So thank you. Appreciate it. Techno Tim. The panel I use is AMP. It's a paid panel, but works for so many games. I'll have to check it out too. Gumshoe Noir. Tim, RAID 1 is just for the OS. Sure, yeah, but you could still do, Are you talking hardware RAID? Because like if you're going to use Proxmox, don't use hardware RAID. Use ZFS and do a mirror, because you have everything at your disposal right there in software to where you don't have to use hardware RAID 1. Because I assume you were using hardware RAID 1. Dan the Data Man, the documentation at AWX is horrible. Yeah, I totally agree. Lackluster. They are now chasing everything. They are now chasing everything into 17.10 or 17.10 and is now getting ready for an 18.0 release. After that, I'm not joking, at least 20 failed installs from following the docs. The only guide that actually works for AWX 17.01. Need to figure out how to deploy modules, etc. I guess Red Hat Enterprise is making it difficult for some reason for killing CentOS. Link to the guide. Yeah, I totally agree. That's one of the things that has, I don't normally go after easy stuff. Things I usually do are I think pretty complex, especially someone who's never done it before. But when I look at AWX's install guide, there's like nothing. The README is nothing. So I'm like, okay, where do I even start here? So that was a turnoff for me. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to sink, 10 hours into figuring out how to get this thing installed. I'll wait on the documentation. So maybe I should, but I'm glad you noticed that as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I've heard people in Discord who have it spun up who say it's so awesome. But just not having that documentation there, it's like, okay, are you just wanting people to buy your paid product? I don't understand. And maybe that's on me. Maybe if I figure it out, I'll open a pull request on the README. I don't know. But yeah, they're revving super fast. And they say that feeds in a tower, and that one will always rev real fast. Whereas Tower won't. That's their more stable product. Penguin Airlines. Yeah, that makes sense. I use square boxes with text for everything. Oh yeah, I hear you. Sometimes circles if I'm feeling ambitious. I don't slow down then. Yeah, with it being digital, then I can easily move, adjust things, and that I can on pencil and paper. Well, whatever works for you. Yeah, good point. Yeah. I totally agree. I've done the square and circle things, and maybe I should go back to that too. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's a very good point. And then it's already digital. I should totally do it. But I was just like, screen all day. I was like, I had to like get it out of my head and write it on paper. And sometimes on paper, I don't even know where I'm going. Like if you look at all these lines, I mean, those are my K3S, agents talking to what will soon be my VIP, which are then talking to, the servers, which are then talking to databases. That big long line is just a VLAN, or how they're going to communicate across VLAN to my databases, because they're not on the same. So I didn't even know where I was going with it, but I think my next version will be digital. That's a good point. Just boxes and text for sure, and group them. All right, gotta answer these. Gimli Theon, Techno Tim, thanks for the stream, but gotta go. We'll post pics of my rack and my home lab. It's a bit more involved. Awesome stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for being here. Sorry, I got to cut it short. Dan, Data Man, Techno Tim, sorry for the bad English. It's nighttime in Norway. Haha. No, your English is perfect. If you wouldn't have said sorry for my bad English, I would have never even thought that you didn't speak English as your native language. So don't feel bad about it. My English is terrible. Look at my videos. Poor grammar. I'm not the greatest speaker. I can't find the right words all the time, but I think this helps. This helps. Streaming helps my brain think a little bit faster. But no, I wouldn't even have noticed. Your English is totally fine. If you didn't even say that, I would have never even known that English wasn't your native tongue. So yeah, I totally 100% fine. Even if it wasn't, I'd figure it out. Like, you know, part Japanese, my grandma spoke broken English to me my whole entire life, and I've had to figure it out. So I'm totally fine with figuring most things out. Most of the things I don't figure out is because I just didn't read it properly, and it has nothing to do with what was said. It was me with comprehension. So appreciate it. Takano saying he will only look for mentions, and now everyone mentioning him. Yeah, I know. Totally. They do know the tricks. That's totally fine. I totally get it. But yeah, you guys, oh my gosh, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for bits, for resubs, for follows, for questions, for posting your questions, for talking about what you're working on, challenging some of the stuff that I'm doing. No, I really appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough for being here. I will be back. I changed my schedule. It's Saturdays for now until something changes, but it's Saturdays for now. So I will be back on Saturday. You can always find me on Discord. If you ping me, I generally respond within a day. I got a lot of stuff going on, but I will respond within hours. I'll say that, hours, as much as I can. And Twitter, I check that multiple times a day too, so I really appreciate it. If you guys thank you, Takano. If you guys want to continue the conversation, I know that this one was a little bit short, absolutely hop on Discord. Takano posted it down below. Join Discord because there are a lot of people in there talking about a lot of the same things we're talking about, and a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me have a lot better ideas than me too, and they share them willingly in there too. And a lot of people that are ready and willing to help or guide you in the right direction or help mentor you or help you with a problem you're having. So I can't say thank you enough to the people in Discord, and two, if you haven't joined, you absolutely should, because there's a lot of people who love this stuff. And if you want to continue the conversation outside the stream, that's the place to go. So I really appreciate it. Dan Data Man, go for AWX. You will love it when it works. Yeah, for sure. I like I said, that blank README has dissuaded me a few times. So yeah, and maybe that's my calling. Maybe I should and figure it out and get it going and do it the right, kind of the right way, mostly the right way, so that other people can do it too and experience it. Because I want to run Ansible not only in a terminal. And that's what AWX will give me. I can run it from a web browser. I can schedule it. I can see logs. I can pull in modules, all the goodness that you get from web apps. So anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next week, and always see you in Discord. Have a good night. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. And be good to each other. Take care.